Take a moment to really think about this. Your identity isn't just a name. It's your face, your voice, your memories, your place in the world. And in today's world, that identity can be copied, sold, and stolen without you ever knowing. It doesn't take a hacker. It doesn't take a genius. It takes someone bold enough to look you in the eye and say, "They're you." Tonight, you'll hear 5 real stories. Not about stolen credit cards or hacked emails, but about lives stolen in their entirety. People who disappeared, and someone else who stepped into their life, took their place, and almost got away with it. These aren't just scams. They're psychological invasions, rewrites of reality, and they're happening more than you think. But before we begin, do us and yourself a favor. Subscribe now so you don't miss the stories no one else dares to tell. Like this video if you believe these stories deserve to be heard, and drop a comment below, even just one word. It helps more people find and be warned by these twisted tales. Now, let's begin. Case 1. The man who lived as a missing boy in. October 1997, police in Linares, Spain, discovered a boy curled up on a bench outside a bus station. He was shaking, malnourished, and barely responsive. When they approached, he said he had escaped from captors who had abused and tortured him for years. He told them his name was Nicholas Barclay. Authorities were stunned. Nicholas Barclay had disappeared from San Antonio, Texas, 3 years earlier. He was 13 when he vanished. A runaway, they thought, maybe worse. But now, here he was, miles from home, traumatized, barely able to speak, except something didn't fit. Nicholas had blue eyes. This boy's were brown. Nicholas had blonde hair. This boy's was dark. And most puzzling of all, he spoke with a French accent. When U.S. officials contacted the family, they were cautious at first. Then Nicholas's sister flew to Spain. The moment she saw him, she cried, hugged him, called him her baby brother. And just like that, he was back. Media ran the story as a miracle reunion. The boy who vanished had returned home, but as he settled into the Barclay house, things got strange. He didn't remember key details about his past. He avoided questions. His stories changed daily. Still, the family accepted him. They believed or wanted to. Then came Charlie Parker, a private investigator hired by a producer working on a documentary. Parker noticed inconsistencies. The ears didn't match. The face was longer. The mannerisms were off. He did a facial comparison. He ran fingerprints. And finally, the truth came out. The boy in the house wasn't Nicholas Barclay. He was Frédéric Bourdin, a 23-year-old Frenchman who had assumed over 500 identities, many of them missing children. He had used the case file to build his disguise and convinced ici, a grieving family, he was their son. When confronted, Bourdin confessed. But he added something chilling. He believed the family had accepted him, despite knowing the truth, because the real Nicholas was dead, and his sudden return would end the questions. That claim was never proven. Bourdin was sentenced to 6 years in prison, but the case didn't end there. Nicholas Barclay was never found. And Frédéric Bourdin, after prison, he continued impersonating others, slipping into lives, wearing faces that weren't his. One man, hundreds of names, and one boy, still missing. Shocking, right? Hit that like button if this blew your mind. Case 2. The woman who woke up married Amber. Wilson's life was quiet, routine even. She worked in insurance, lived alone, paid her bills on time. Then one day, she received a letter that turned her world upside down. It was from a county office in New Mexico. Confirmation of your marriage license registration, it said. Attached was a certificate showing that she, Amber, had legally married a man named Derek Holmes. She stared at the document in disbelief. Her name, her ID number, even her signature were all there. But Amber had never met Derek Holmes. She hadn't even visited New Mexico in her life, thinking it was a clerical error, she called the office. But they confirmed it was real, legal, official. She was now Mrs. Holmes. Amber checked her credit report, and what she found sent chills down her spine. Her identity had been used to open a joint bank account, rent a house in Albuquerque, file taxes, apply for a small business loan. And the worst part? There was now a divorce filing under her name, submitted just days after the supposed marriage. Someone had found her lost wallet months earlier. With just her driver's license and health insurance card, they'd crafted an alternate version of her life. Piece by piece, form by form. Amber tried to report the fraud, but the system worked against her. Every time she presented proof of her identity, it was matched by equally convincing documents, also in her name. She hired a lawyer, spent over $15,000 trying to clear her record, but databases were slow to update. Her credit remained flagged. Some companies refused to work with her, calling her a risk profile. Years later, she's still untangling the mess. To this day, Amber can't legally explain how she got married, divorced, or owned a business she never heard of. And the imposter, never caught. Possibly still using her name. If this story creeped you out, comment "married to a stranger" below. Case 3. The stranger who posted her life. Emily James built her online following one post at a time. She was known for clean aesthetics, soft lighting, and wellness routines. A growing influencer with over 70,000 followers and a steady rise in brand deals. Then one night, she received a DM from a follower. "Love this photo, but didn't you post it yesterday?" Emily hadn't. In fact, she hadn't posted it at all. Someone else had. She discovered a second Instagram account. Her name, her face, her exact photos. At first, she thought it was a fan page. Until she noticed something terrifying. The other account was posting pictures of her before she uploaded them. Not reposts. Originals, same angles, same lighting. Some taken from behind. Images she'd never captured. She scrolled further. There were captions that hinted at things only someone close would know. Her upcoming collaborations. The names of cafes she frequented but never shared publicly. Then came a post showing her parked car outside a boutique, timestamped 2 hours before she arrived. She contacted Instagram. The account was removed. 3 days later, it was back. Different handle, same content. This time, her address was posted in a story. Emily went to the police, but they couldn't trace the account. It used encrypted proxies and burner emails. She installed security cameras, changed apartments, deleted her online presence. What stuck with her was the feeling that whoever it was wasn't just watching, they were studying, practicing. She later told a podcast, "I think they wanted to know what it felt like to be me. And maybe, just maybe, they thought they could do it better." The stalker was never identified, and Emily, she never went back online. Can you imagine this happening to you? Share this with someone who lives online. Case 4. The Babysitter, who wasn't real. When Sarah and Tom Miller hired a babysitter for their 2-year-old, they thought they were being careful. They'd found her on a parenting Facebook group. Rachel M. had hundreds of followers, a polished profile, glowing testimonials, and dozens of photos of her with smiling children. She sent over her resume, early childhood education, CPR certified, 5 years of experience. They video chatted. She seemed warm, calm, experienced. She arrived Monday morning, played with their son, sent them regular updates and photos. Tuesday was the same. Their child seemed to like her. Wednesday morning, Rachel didn't show up. They called, texted, nothing, and their son? Gone too. The front door was unlocked. The crib was empty. Panic set in. Police were called. Amber alerts went out. After 36 hours, the baby was found unharmed in a hotel room 40 miles away. Alone. Crying. The room had been rented in cash under a false name. Rachel had vanished. The police dug into her credentials. The ID she provided was fake. Her background check, forged. The Instagram, entirely AI generated. Reverse searches showed the kids in her posts didn't exist, or were stolen from foreign blogs. Even her voice, recorded in one of the testimonials, turned out to be synthesized. Rachel was a fabrication, an elaborate professional-level persona created from scratch. And the scariest part? She hadn't stolen anything. She hadn't harmed the child. She left him safe. Experts believe it was a psychological test, a rehearsal. How much access can you get if you play the role well enough? To this day, she's never been found. And the Millers now wonder, how many other families fell for the same perfect profile, trusting a stranger with your child? Think again. Subscribe for more real warnings. Case 5. The Dead Man. Who bought a house in 2019, Linda Thompson buried her husband James after a short battle with cancer. He was a retired Navy officer, a quiet man who handled their finances and left everything in order. Linda grieved deeply, but took comfort knowing things were settled. Until 2 years later, she received a call from a mortgage company. "Your payment is late," they said. Linda was confused. She hadn't applied for a mortgage. But according to them, her husband James had. In 2021, she explained he had passed away years ago. The agent fell silent, then read off the file. It had James's social security number, James's military ID, James's exact signature, and a property bought in Oklahoma under his name. Linda panicked. She sent the death certificate, but it wasn't enough. The lender had verified documents, notarized forms, a full application. Someone had resurrected her husband's identity. They'd pulled information from his obituary, birth date, military, rank, middle name, combined that with data from public records, and created a ghost that passed every system check. With that identity, the fraudster bought property, opened bank accounts, registered utilities, even filed taxes under James's name. Linda called the police, the FBI, even contacted military records offices. No one could trace the person responsible. Eventually, the house was foreclosed and resold. No one was arrested, but the damage lingered. In every database, James Thompson was alive again, owing money, listed as a homeowner, even flagged for debt collections. And Linda, she lived in fear that someone might one day knock on her door asking for James. Because to the world, he was still out there, walking around, signing papers, living someone else's afterlife, a dead man taking out a loan. Like this video, if that gave you chills. So what did we just witness? Not just fraud, not just deception. These were people who slipped into someone else's life, slowly, skillfully, until no one could tell the difference. What makes a person real? Their ID, their memories, or the belief others have in who they say they are. Each of these imposters found a crack and slipped through it, a grieving family desperate for closure. A system built on paperwork and patterns. A culture that trusts what it sees online. And every time, the truth became negotiable. If someone looked like you, talked like you, used your name, would the world still recognize the difference? That's the terrifying question. If you've made it this far, thank you. These stories aren't just meant to entertain, they're warnings. Subscribe now so you never miss the next real-life twist. Like this video to help more people stay sharp, and share it with someone who trusts too easily. Because the world needs more watchers. Stay alert, stay sharp, and we'll see you in the next twisted tale.